It was a quiet evening in the far reaches of the galaxy, where the stars shimmered like tiny diamonds in the vastness of space. The peace of the galaxy was disrupted by a thread that would forever change the way humans and aliens looked at one another. It started, like many discussions in the digital age, in a small corner of the internet, a subreddit, a place where ideas and questions of all sorts could be shared. The subreddit was called r/Sci-Fi Warfare, where beings from different planets, races, and species gathered to talk about war, strategies, and battles that had been fought, or perhaps were yet to be fought. It was a place to exchange thoughts, theories, and experiences in a universe brimming with countless possibilities. On this night, however, a post would stir the pot in ways that no one could have anticipated. The post, simple in its premise, was titled, "Why Alien Mercenaries Refuse Contracts Against Human Special Forces." The question was strange at first glance, almost too casual for a place where military strategies and war tactics were often discussed in detail. But something about it felt different. The title alone had the power to intrigue anyone who had even a passing interest in galactic warfare. As the comments began to pile in, something strange happened. Some readers joked about the humans being too weak to stand up against alien forces. Others suggested it was a matter of simple protocol between species. But one comment quickly stood out among the rest. A user by the name of Zoraki replied with a message that, at first, seemed almost too cryptic to make sense of. It's not as simple as you think. The human special forces are not just soldiers. They are something more, something none of you could have anticipated. Zoraki's comment was brief, but it carried a weight that made many pause. What did he mean? The rest of the thread exploded with curiosity. Many users, especially those from the planets of the Scorith and the Rilke star systems, knew of Zoraki. He had built a reputation as an ex-mercenary leader, someone who had witnessed battles across multiple galaxies. His words had weight, and when he spoke, people listened. A few hours later, Zoraki posted again. This time, his message was longer. It read, "The truth about human special forces is not just about their skill with weapons. It's not about their equipment. It's not even about their numbers. It's about something much deeper. The reason mercenaries avoid them is because there is something hidden about them. Something that has been kept from the rest of the universe. You don't know the full story, but you will soon." A chill ran down the spines of many readers. A few had heard rumors of humans using ancient alien technologies, but they had always dismissed them as stories of fiction. Could it be true? Could there be something in the hands of humans that even the most experienced mercenaries feared? The thread was now alive with speculation. Every comment added to the growing sense of mystery. Praxel, a user from the Andromeda sector, responded with a question that seemed to cut through the confusion. "What are you saying? What's hidden about the human special forces? What do they have that's so dangerous?" But Zoraki didn't reply right away. The silence that followed felt suffocating. The thread became more intense as users debated the implications of his comment. Some suggested that it was a strategy, a psychological trick to frighten people into believing the humans were more capable than they actually were. Others wondered if Zoraki was simply trying to stir up trouble, to create confusion for reasons only he knew. And then, the unexpected happened. A new comment appeared, this time from a different user, one who went by the name Stylara4. The comment read, "The humans didn't just stumble upon this power. They were chosen. And those who know the truth are afraid of what will happen when others learn about it." Stylara4's statement sent waves through the community. The word chosen was used sparingly in discussions about advanced races, often in reference to those who had been selected for special abilities or had unique, almost divine, skills. The term chosen was taboo. But here, it was used freely. What did it mean for humanity? The comment quickly snowballed. More and more users piled in, sharing their own theories. Some believed that humanity had somehow tapped into an ancient alien civilization's technology, while others speculated that the humans had discovered something so powerful that they could reshape the galaxy's balance of power. The next few hours were filled with a frenzy of ideas. Some theories were more outlandish than others. One user, Krithos, claimed that the human special forces had found a way to manipulate time, while another user, Gorathex, insisted that humans had found the ability to harness dark energy, a force long considered too dangerous to control. And while these ideas seemed far-fetched, there was one thing that everyone could agree on. Whatever the humans had, it was powerful. By now, the thread had reached hundreds of comments, and many of the original posters began to grow frustrated. What was the truth? What could possibly make the mercenaries so reluctant to fight against humans? Even the most skilled and deadly mercenaries in the galaxy were known for their pride, their willingness to take on almost any contract for the right price. But this was different. This was not just about money. This was about survival. As the day wore on, Zoraki finally returned to the thread. His message now longer, filled with details that hinted at an unimaginable truth. You all think you understand, but you don't. I've seen it with my own eyes. The humans don't fight like anyone else. They fight like they have something to protect. Something beyond just the life of one soldier or one planet. And that is why they will never be defeated. The mercenaries who go up against them don't stand a chance, not because of their weapons, but because the humans have something far more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. And one day, you will all see it for yourselves. Zoraki's words left a deep impression on everyone who read them. A strange, uneasy feeling began to spread across the thread. Could it be true? Had humanity unlocked something that even the most advanced alien species feared? Or was it all just a trick of the mind, a wild tale spun by an ex-mercenary who had seen too much? As the comments slowed down and the thread began to fade from the front page, one final comment was posted. It was from Zoraki, and it simply read, "You will know soon, but by then it may be too late." And with that, the mystery deepened. Zorak sat in the quiet darkness of his ship's cockpit, staring out at the stars. The hum of the engines was the only sound that filled the otherwise empty space. His mind was far from peaceful, though. The discussion on the Reddit thread had consumed his thoughts for days now. The humans were more than anyone had given them credit for. There was something they had, something hidden, and Zorak knew that it was more than just their determination or skills. Something deep within their nature made them formidable in ways that no alien force could ever fully understand. He had spent years working as a mercenary leader, leading elite teams to various corners of the galaxy, fighting in battles no one would speak of, and executing contracts no one else dared to. Mercenaries like him weren't supposed to fear anything. They fought for the highest bidder and won for the sheer joy of conquering. But something about the human special forces had shaken him in a way no other enemy had. Zorak tapped the screen in front of him, pulling up the old reports of his encounter with a human unit just a few years ago. The mission had seemed simple enough. He had been hired by a corporate empire to eliminate a rogue group of human special forces that had been wreaking havoc in a distant system. They were a small group, nothing more than a few dozen soldiers, armed with standard weapons and basic technology. Zorak's mercenary team had faced far worse, but something was different about these humans. The mission had started as expected, but it hadn't ended the way anyone had imagined. His team was ambushed. It was a trap, an ambush by a group of humans who, by all accounts, should have been outmatched. Zorak's team was wiped out, and the remaining mercenaries were forced to retreat. It wasn't just the loss that shook him. It was how the humans had fought. Their tactics were unlike anything he had ever seen before. They knew exactly where to strike, when to strike, and they used the terrain to their advantage in ways that no other force had ever managed. Zorak leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. The humans didn't fight like anyone else. They fought with a kind of desperation, a sense of purpose that made them unpredictable. They were not just warriors, they were survivors. And that was what made them dangerous. As he reflected on that day, Zorak couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more. It wasn't just their fighting style. It was something else. A hidden strength that no one had ever seen before. Something ancient, something buried beneath the surface. His mind wandered to the strange rumors he had heard over the years. Whispers of humans possessing technology that was far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. But how could it be? The humans were still in the early stages of space exploration. How could they have access to such advanced technology? Zorak shook his head. It didn't make sense, but he knew one thing for sure. The fear he felt on that mission was not like anything he had ever experienced, and it had stayed with him ever since. It was the fear of an enemy who was not just fighting to win. They were fighting to survive, to protect something precious, something more important than their own lives. A notification popped up on his screen, breaking his train of thought. It was a new message in the thread that had started all of this. Why alien mercenaries reject contracts against human special forces. It had been a few days since Zorak had posted his last comment, and he hadn't expected the thread to blow up the way it had. But the more he read through the responses, the more he realized that he wasn't the only one who felt this way. Many other mercenaries, soldiers, and bounty hunters had shared similar experiences where human special forces had proven to be far more resourceful, far more deadly than anyone could have imagined. A new comment caught his attention. It was from a user called Vethor, a mercenary known for his brutal tactics and deadly precision. Vethor had seen and done things that would make even the most hardened warriors flinch. His comment was simple but chilling. I was on the front lines in the Rigel system. We were hired to take down a squad of human special forces. We underestimated them. The humans didn't just fight back. They turned the entire landscape against us. They knew the terrain, the weather patterns, the way the wind moved through the trees. We couldn't track them. We couldn't predict them. They were everywhere. They were like ghosts. We failed the mission. Zorak read the comment twice. It mirrored his own experiences. But Vethor had spoken of something that Zorak hadn't fully considered, the humans' deep connection to their environment. It wasn't just their technology or their tactics that made them dangerous. It was their adaptability. They understood the land, the weather, the smallest details of their surroundings in ways that no mercenary force could ever hope to match. Zorak's mind began to race. There had to be an explanation. He had heard stories of a special group of humans, elite soldiers trained not just in combat, but in survival, in understanding the smallest details of their environment. These soldiers didn't just fight. They became one with the world around them. They were part of the land, part of the air, part of everything. They were unstoppable, not because of their weapons, but because of their connection to the world they fought to protect. But that wasn't all. Zorak had also heard whispers of a secret, something hidden within the human military that had given them the edge over their alien adversaries. A technology, an ancient power that had been passed down through generations. Some said it was a gift from a long-lost alien race. Others said it was a weapon created by humans themselves, something that had been kept secret for centuries. Zorak couldn't ignore the possibility that this was the key to understanding why alien mercenaries refused to take contracts against human special forces. It wasn't just about technology or tactics. It was about a force that was not visible to the naked eye, a force that made the humans more than just soldiers. They were something more. His thoughts were interrupted by another notification. It was a direct message from Silara 4, the user who had mentioned the humans being chosen. Zorak had seen Silara 4's comments before, but he had never interacted with them directly. The message read, "You're not seeing the whole picture, Zorak. The humans were chosen for something greater. You felt it, haven't you? The power they wield is not just a matter of technology. It's something within them, something that was awakened when they made their first steps into the stars. You've been close to it, but you haven't fully realized it yet. They are more than soldiers. They are protectors of something ancient. You need to understand this before it's too late." Zorak's eyes widened as he read the message. The word sent a shiver down his spine. Protectors of something ancient. What did that mean? What had happened to the humans to give them such power? He sat in silence for a long time, staring out at the stars. His mind was racing, trying to piece together everything he had learned, everything he had experienced. The humans were not what they seemed. They had a secret, something powerful, something that made them unbeatable. And Zorak knew that if he didn't find out what it was, it would be the downfall of everyone who underestimated them. Zorak sat in the darkened command center of his ship, the ship's dim control panels casting eerie shadows across his face. His eyes were fixed on the screen before him, the swirling patterns of distant stars reflected in his gaze. He couldn't stop thinking about the humans, about their strength, about their mysterious power. The more he tried to understand them, the less sense it made. His encounters with them, the discussions he had been following, and the cryptic messages that had appeared on the Reddit thread had all led to one undeniable conclusion. There was something about the humans that no one had yet fully understood, something hidden, something dangerous. And now, after days of reflection, Zorak felt as though the truth was just within his reach. His connection with the Reddit thread had deepened over time, and the comments from the various mercenaries, warriors, and hunters from across the galaxy had painted a picture that Zorak was beginning to believe. The humans were hiding something, and it wasn't just advanced technology. It was something far more dangerous, something that transcended their weapons or tactics. They were hiding a force, an energy that no one, not even the greatest warriors of the galaxy, could explain. The transmission came in without warning. Zorak's ship beeped with a high-pitched tone, and a message appeared on his screen. The sender was unknown, but the subject was clear. The hidden truth about human power. Zorak hesitated for a moment before opening it. The message read, "The humans' power does not lie in their weapons, their technology, or even their strategy. It lies in their will to survive. A power greater than anything you have encountered. A power tied to something far older than any of us. You know this power exists, Zorak, but what you don't know is what it truly is." The message was short, but left a deep impact. It was from Sylara 4, the mysterious user who had been dropping hints about the human's true nature. Zorak had no time to waste. His instincts told him that this was the moment of truth. He needed answers, and he needed them now. Zorak opened a secure communication link, connecting directly with Sylara 4. The connection was clear, and a figure appeared on the screen, their face partially obscured by a dark hood. It was difficult to tell whether Sylara 4 was human or something else entirely. Their presence was unsettling, as though they were more than just a participant in this galaxy-wide conversation. Zorak had a feeling that Sylara 4 knew far more than they were letting on. The figure spoke, their voice low and deliberate. "You've been following the thread, Zorak. I knew you would come. It's time for you to understand the truth. The humans are not as they seem. They were chosen for a purpose. The power they wield is not of their own making. It comes from something older, something that has been hidden from the rest of the galaxy." Zorak's heart raced. "What are you talking about? What do you mean, chosen?" Sylara 4's eyes glinted behind the shadow of their hood. "It's not just about technology. It's not about the weapons they use. The true power of humanity lies in an ancient energy that courses through their beings. You may have heard the rumors, the whispers of an old civilization, long lost to time. But the humans, they're different. They were chosen because they were the first to awaken this dormant energy." Zorak leaned forward, his mind reeling. "Are you telling me that humans have access to energy, to power, from a civilization that is long gone?" Sylara 4 nodded slowly, confirming what Zorak had feared all along. "Yes," they replied, their voice barely audible. "But there's more to it. This energy, it's not just a weapon. It's a force, a living, breathing power that connects them to the very fabric of the universe. The ancient civilization that created it knew how to tap into it, and now humanity has awakened it within themselves. The thing that makes human special forces so terrifying, Zorak, is that this energy is bound to their will. It is tied to their purpose. And no mercenary, no matter how skilled, can stand against it. Zorak's thoughts were racing now. He had always believed that a weapon, no matter how advanced, could be defeated. That strategy and skill could overcome any obstacle. But this was different. This was something far beyond anything he had ever encountered. The idea that an entire species could harness a force that was tied to their will, to their very survival, was something that sent shivers down his spine. Xilara 4 continued, their voice growing more urgent. You've seen it yourself, Zorak. When you face those human soldiers in the Rigel system, you didn't just lose because of their strategy. You lost because they were connected to something greater than themselves. It was their will to protect, to survive, that gave them an edge you couldn't anticipate. They fight with something that mercenaries like you, and I can't even comprehend. And the more you try to fight them, the more you will realize that this energy is not just a tool, it's a part of them. It's woven into their very being. Zorak was silent for a long moment, taking it all in. It was hard to process, but deep down, he knew there was truth to what Xilara 4 was saying. The humans weren't just warriors. They were protectors of something much more profound. And their connection to this energy, this ancient power, made them an unstoppable force. What does this mean for the galaxy? Zorak asked, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Xilara 4's eyes gleamed behind their hood, but there was a sadness in their expression. It means that the balance of power has shifted. The humans are no longer just a small, insignificant species. They have awakened something that no one in the galaxy can control. And they will not stop until they protect whatever it is they are guarding. The energy they've tapped into is not just power. It's their purpose. And if anyone tries to challenge them, if anyone tries to stand in their way, they will defend it with everything they have. And they will win. Zorak's mind was still racing. He had to understand more. He had to know what this energy was, what it meant for the future of the galaxy. But Xilara 4 wasn't finished. There's one last thing you need to know, Zorak, they said, their tone growing somber. The reason alien mercenaries avoid contracts with human special forces isn't just because of their strength. It's because no one can predict what happens when this energy is unleashed. It is a force of nature. It can destroy everything in its path, or it can protect everything in its path. The humans, they are the key to something much bigger. And if they ever decide to use it against us, the entire galaxy will be at their mercy. Zorak stared at the screen, stunned into silence. The pieces were falling into place. The humans weren't just a threat because of their weapons or tactics. They were a threat because they had access to something that no one else had. Something ancient, powerful, and unpredictable. Xilara 4's voice broke through his thoughts one last time. Remember this, Zorak. The humans may be the last line of defense for the galaxy, or they may become its greatest danger. It all depends on how they choose to wield this power. And once you understand that, you will understand why alien mercenaries refuse to fight them. It's not just about winning or losing. It's about survival. With that, the transmission ended, and Zorak was left alone in the dark, staring out at the stars. The truth had been revealed to him. The humans were not just soldiers. They were protectors of something much more, something powerful, something that would shape the future of the galaxy in ways that no one could yet comprehend. And now, Zorak had a choice to make. Would he continue to fight against them, or would he try to understand what they were protecting and why? The answer, he knew, would determine the fate of everything. Zorak's mind was in turmoil as he sat alone in the darkened control room of his ship. The revelations from Xilara 4 had shattered everything he thought he knew about war and survival. The humans weren't just another species trying to carve out their place in the galaxy. They were the guardians of something far more powerful, something no one had ever anticipated. He could feel it, the weight of the truth, The humans had unlocked an ancient energy, a force that was both their greatest strength and their greatest mystery. And now, Zorak knew that the entire galaxy was at a crossroads. He had spent years as a mercenary, fighting battles for money and honor. His loyalty had always been to the highest bidder, and he had always been proud of his skills. But the humans, with their untapped potential and the mysterious power they wielded, were a force he couldn't ignore. He had seen them in battle. His own narrow escape from their grasp was proof of that. What Silara 4 had said was true. The humans weren't just soldiers. They were something else entirely. Zorak knew that he couldn't continue fighting against them. The risk was too great. But what if there was another way? What if they could use this newfound knowledge to forge a different path? What if the humans weren't meant to be enemies after all? His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert on his ship's comms. A secure message flashed across the screen. Incoming transmission from the United Human Command. Zorak's heart skipped a beat. It was an unusual request. He had never received direct communication from the humans before. Was this a trap? A strategy to lure him in? Or was it something else entirely? With a deep breath, Zorak accepted the transmission. The screen flickered, and a human appeared before him. A soldier in full combat gear, with a stern expression and eyes that spoke of years of hard battle. It was a man, but his presence radiated the kind of power Zorak had only felt in the presence of those who wielded the ancient energy. This man was different. "Commander Zorak," the soldier said, his voice calm yet firm. "I'm Lieutenant Michael Hawke of the United Human Special Forces. I have a proposal for you. A chance to stop the endless cycle of bloodshed that threatens to destroy us all." Zorak narrowed his eyes. He had been expecting a confrontation, not a proposal. The humans never offered peace. It was either a fight or an impossible ultimatum. "A proposal?" Zorak echoed, his voice low with suspicion. "What could you possibly offer me?" Lieutenant Hawke met his gaze directly, as if unshaken by the intensity of Zorak's stare. "We know who you are, Zorak. We know your reputation as a mercenary leader. And we also know that you are a man of strategy. A man who understands that sometimes survival comes from knowing when to fight, and when to form an alliance." Zorak felt a flicker of curiosity. He had been trained to read people, to sense weakness or deception in an opponent, but there was nothing in the lieutenant's posture or expression that suggested trickery. This was no ordinary human. This was a leader. "You want me to join you?" Zorak asked incredulously. "After all the bloodshed? After everything you've done?" Hawke's expression softened, just a fraction. "We're not asking you to forget the past, Zorak. We know what your people have suffered. But the galaxy is on the brink of destruction, and we can't afford to keep fighting each other. The ancient energy the humans have awakened. It is not just a weapon. It is a force that can reshape everything. But it is also unstable. We are on the verge of losing control over it. If we don't unite with those who understand power and strategy, we may not survive the consequences." Zorak sat back in his chair, processing the words carefully. The humans were not offering an empty alliance. They were desperate, but they were also aware of the stakes. This was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about controlling something far greater, something that could either bring peace or destroy everything. "And you think a mercenary like me is the key to your survival?" Zorak asked, his tone still skeptical. Lieutenant Hawke nodded. "Yes, because we know that, like us, you understand the weight of this power. We don't want to be its masters. We want to be its allies. Together, we can protect the galaxy from those who would use it to dominate others. Together, we can forge a new future, one where no species stands alone." Zorak's mind raced as he considered the offer. He had always lived by the principle of strength above all. But what Hawke was saying struck a chord deep within him. The ancient energy the humans possessed, it was not just their strength, it was a responsibility. And if left unchecked, it could destroy everything. It was a power that could either bring unity or lead to utter chaos, The very thing that had once made the humans enemies might now make them allies. "You're asking me to risk everything," Zorak said finally, his voice steady. "To betray my own kind, to trust in something I don't fully understand. Why should I believe that this won't just lead to more war?" Hawk looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because we don't want more war. We've already fought too many battles. We've lost too much. The question is no longer about victory. It's about survival. If we continue down this path of endless conflict, we will all be destroyed. The only way forward is to work together." Zorak stood up, pacing the small space of his ship's control room. His mind was swirling with conflicting thoughts. He had seen enough violence, enough destruction, to last a lifetime. He had been on both sides of war, the winner and the loser, and neither side brought peace. He had never been one to shy away from a fight. But this was different. Finally, Zorak turned to face Hawk, his decision clear. "I will join you, Lieutenant, but understand this. I am no puppet. I will not be controlled by anyone, not even the humans. But if what you say is true, and if this energy can truly reshape the future, then I will help you. Not because I trust you, but because I believe in the future you speak of. Together, we will find a way to control this power. But if I see even a hint of betrayal, I will not hesitate to act." Hawk nodded, a look of genuine respect in his eyes. "Understood, Zorak. We're not asking for your loyalty. We're asking for your help, and we will honor that every step of the way." As the transmission ended, Zorak felt a sense of finality wash over him. The road ahead was uncertain, but he knew one thing for sure. This was the beginning of something new, something that could change the course of history. Together, he and the humans would face the challenges ahead, not as enemies, but as allies. It was an alliance that had never been imagined, forged in the crucible of uncertainty and necessity. The galaxy, once on the brink of destruction, now had a chance to find its way back to peace. But the journey would not be easy. The forces of chaos and darkness would still seek to tear them apart. But with this alliance, Zorak and Hawk had begun a new chapter, one where the greatest power was not in battle, but in the strength of unity. And in that unity, Zorak saw the true potential of the galaxy, not just to survive, but to thrive.